Standard financial advice focuses entirely on the booms, on how to ride the wave of a growing market. But the real mechanics of the global economy aren't visible during the growth phases. To understand where the power lies, you have to study the exact moments the system fails. A financial crash is a high-speed redistribution. Trillions of dollars aren't destroyed, they are forcibly reallocated, moving from the accounts of the uninformed and into the hands of the prepared. We are deconstructing 4 historical disasters to see how this capital flow actually works and whether the current AI obsession is the next mechanism designed to separate you from your wealth. In a financial collapse, the only people who lose are the ones who don't understand the rules of the transfer. Following World War I, American factories redirected their massive production power towards consumer goods. Henry Ford's assembly line made products cheaper and faster than at any point in history. But there was a limit to how many toasters one household could buy. When demand slowed, banks stepped in, loaning money to ordinary citizens to keep the factory lines moving. This chart shows the fragility of that era. By 1929, 40% of all U.S. consumer debt was being used strictly to buy stocks. The entire economy was a bubble built on borrowed cash. When the market realized that supply had outpaced real demand, the panic was immediate. On Black Tuesday, the market collapsed, losing nearly 90% of its value in just a few years. The real wealth transfer took place within the banking system. Thousands of small, independent banks were so fragile that even a few local bankruptcies could trigger a total failure. Terrified citizens rushed to withdraw their life savings, triggering massive, chaotic bank runs. A third of the nation's banks vanished, and while the savings of the public disappeared, the debts they owed were often consolidated by the institutions that survived. This crash moved wealth into a deflationary spiral, a cycle where the value of cash increased as the survival of the working class plummeted. It eventually took the industrial mobilization of World War II to reset the global economy. By the late 1990s, a new mechanism for redistribution emerged. The birth of the web browser triggered a massive tidal wave of retail investment. Wall Street began collecting tens of millions in IPO fees by marketing worthless tech companies. Traditional metrics were discarded in favor of pure growth. Take Pets.com. They lost money on every single sale because the cost of shipping heavy pet food was higher than the profit. Their customer acquisition cost completely overshadowed the lifetime value of the customer, yet the company still reached a $300 million valuation. When investors finally checked the math, $5 trillion in paper wealth evaporated. 17 companies had spent $42 million on Super Bowl ads despite having zero profit. The retail investors lost their savings, but that capital financed a permanent physical legacy, billions of dollars in underground fiber optic cables. This infrastructure was effectively a gift from the bubble's victims to the future tech giants like Netflix and YouTube. After the Dotcom crash, the Federal Reserve slashed interest rates to stimulate the market, while the government pushed for home ownership. Investment banks, operating without leverage caps, began bundling thousands of mortgages into mortgage-backed securities, selling them to global investors for immediate profit. When the pool of reliable borrowers dried up, banks issued ninja loans, issued to those with no income, having no stable job, and absolutely no assets. Rating agencies were paid to label these toxic bundles as AAA, the safest possible investments. In 2007, the housing market peaked and subprime borrowers defaulted. The global financial system realized it was holding trillions in worthless debt. Global credit froze. Lehman Brothers, a firm with nearly $700 billion in assets, vanished overnight. This was the ultimate wealth transfer. While 8 million Americans lost their jobs and 4 million lost their homes, a $700 billion taxpayer bailout recapitalized the exact institutions that caused the crisis. Today, we are seeing the same patterns in the AI obsession. Is this a genuine technological revolution, or just a new method for tech giants to pass the same capital back and forth? The bull case for AI is built on actual profits and existing cloud infrastructure, led by trillion-dollar titans like Microsoft and Google. But the bear case is stark. Data shows that 95% of companies attempting AI integration see zero boost in operational productivity. We were promised AI that would cure diseases, but we are largely getting expensive chatbots. Running these models burns so much capital that companies like OpenAI remain massively unprofitable. This shows a dangerous self-funded cycle. Tech giants inflate growth by investing billions into startups that buy their products. Capital moves from investor to startup, then immediately back to the tech giant for hardware, recorded as revenue, even though no real-world value is created. If the broader economy slows and investors demand real profit, this circular loop will collapse, and the retail market will be left holding the bill for another burst bubble. The global economy moves in predictable cycles of boom, greed, panic, and bust. The unprepared will always foot the bill, while the educated use these moments of panic to capture capital. To stay ahead of the next crash and secure your financial future, subscribe to The Money Formula and hit the bell icon. See you in the next one.